a long way to the top. If you wanna rock and roll, you wanna rock and roll. Driving on the highway, going to a show. Stopping on the byway, playing rock and roll. Getting round, getting stoned, getting beat up, getting boned, getting high, getting shook. I'll show you folks, it's harder than it looks. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's either doing one night stands, driving a rock roll band. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll.
Good evening, race fans. I'm your host, Caden Reif, and welcome back to the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series. We're here for something a little different this week. We head down under for race number 6 out of 36 this season. It's Calder Park Raceway for the Samsung 600K here tonight with a bit of left turning down in Australia, a pair of races down into the land down under as we take you to the trackside for your starting lineup in today's race. On pole for tonight is going to be Greg Biffle in the 16 car, and Casey Kane in the 38 joins him on the front row. Looking down the rest of this order, as third place belongs to the 28 of Mark Martin, and Jack Sprague joins him on the outside in fourth. Fifth goes to Ryan Newman in the 12, and Jimmy Johnson, winner of 3 of the first 5 races, he'll be starting in 6th. Robbie Gordon in the 7th position in the 31 car, and Tony Stewart will be in 8th. Jamie McMurray holding on to 9th spot, and Bobby Labonte the last car in the top 10. 11th will be Mike Bliss in the 81, and John Wood in 12th. Jeff Green is P13, and Jason Leffler in the 00 is 14th. 15th will be Terry Labonte in the 14 car, and Jeff Gordon will be in the 16th position, John Andretti in P number 17, and Kyle Busch in 18th. 19th is going to be Kevin Harvick in the 20, and 20th place will be Ricky Hendrick in the 5. Ryan Vickers starting from 21st, and 22nd belonging to Kurt Busch. P23 will be Carl Edwards in the 97, and Hank Parker Jr. will start this race in 24th, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in P25, and Sterling Marlin in 26th. Jeff Burton will be in the 27th spot, and TJ Bell in the 49, that's 28th. 29th will be Matt Kenseth in the 17, and 30th, Scott Riggs. P31 will be Regan Smith in the 2 car, and Chase Montgomery will start from 32nd, Scott Wimmer the 33rd place driver, and Casey Atwood in 34th. 35th will be Elliott Sadler in the 83, Martin Truex Jr. in 36th, 37th belonging to Eric Norris, and Jeremy Mayfield in 38th. Christian Elder will be in the P39 position, and Morgan Shepherd in 40th in the 89, and the last row will be Hornaday Jr. in the 78, and Todd Bodine in the 77. 42 cars, as always, here from Calder Park. We take you to the track for the most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
42 stock cars roar to life here, as always, as we get set to roll 100 laps here from Calder Park, as we're set to go for the first time here in Australia. The Cross Seas race is being taken to a different venue, and Calder Park, the testing that we've noticed, this racing surface is very old, so tire wear has been important at this racetrack, and it's been really difficult to keep it on the road later on in the runs.
Another thing that's been brought up quite a bit in drivers' meetings is that the drivers have been told to run it a little bit less hard than they normally would after experiencing tire issues all throughout the Busch race. Another thing you'll be noticing about the pace speed if you watch the Busch race is that it's slightly slower, as there were also complaints about people not being able to repair their cars in time.
Absolutely. So a lot of changes going into this week, kind of learning on the fly, but nonetheless, we're all set to go here. Pace car going to lead the field to the green here and peel off onto your left here in Melbourne. 100 laps here for the Samsung 600K. Greg Biffle and Casey Kane to lead the field to the green flag here from Australia. It is a huge lead for the 16 of Greg Biffle after lap number 1. He runs away from the field from the pole. Mark Martin in the 28 taking second, although Newman quickly taking him into a battle for that second spot as the 16 still running away up front. And one thing we've noticed a lot in this race yesterday... Oh, they're wrecking on the backstretch. Never mind, no time to storytell. Scott Wimmer around and a couple of others involved in it. Rookie Regan Smith 83 and 5 got a piece of that as well. Hank Parker Jr. in the 4 involved. 0 of Christian Elder and others, and we are under caution very quickly. So early caution here from Calder Park. Get a look back at this wreck on the backstretch on just lap number 2. Seeing some incidents early here. Not sure entirely what happened on this one. Ooh, looks like the 5 might have gotten some help here. Yes, he did. That's the 01 of Kurt Busch putting the bumper to the back of the 5, who goes straight into the outside wall. Nowhere for the 4 to go. The 17 in it. 23-0, 78. Just a lot of contact there, resulting from the initial hit between the 01 and the 5 that was back in turn 2.
Massive credit to the 17. That could have been a lot worse for him.
Great job collecting that thing. So we are under caution here for the first time in Calder Park. Coming back to the pits here as Greg Biffle, the early race leader, will be leading the majority of the field in for early pit stops. Of course, wanted to stay on top of the tires. Everybody want to look at their tires. Jack Sprague in the 55 will stay out to inherit the race lead. Tony Stewart in the 42 also stays out with him. Meanwhile, the rest of the field down pit road.
Not a particularly difficult pit lane here. Very large pit boxes. In fact, some of the largest we see on the calendar this season.
Absolutely, and drivers were very thankful for that fact, given that they've got so much room to work with. Everybody getting a look at their race cars, mostly fuel only on that stop for these drivers. Greg Biffle in the 16 will win the race off of pit road. Top 3 that stayed out, it'll be Sprague, Stewart, and Mayfield, and we'll take you to intermission early here from Calder Park after that wreck on the backstretch. Back from intermission here at Calder Park as we get set to get back underway after the early pit stops. All the guys in the pits mostly on fuel only, including all of the race leaders behind this top three who stayed out. It'll be Sprague, Stewart, and Mayfield still on the racetrack in the top three. Biffle and Newman round out the top five, and your top 10 goes Gordon, McMurray, Labonte, Kane, and Bliss. As we get ready to start once again, coming to lap number 7 here with the 55 car of Jack Sprague in first place. His car going to peel off to the left here. Nobody out of the race just yet, but expecting a couple drivers to fail to meet minimum speed here. But nonetheless, into the restart box here from Calder Park, and we are back green. A great start from the 55, who runs away from the previous two behind him.
This is a track where there's a massive advantage for the leaders on restarts.
And it has been a bit of a struggle to pass. Not impossible, but one of the tracks that's a little more difficult to pass at, more of a driver's track this is. And given the old racing surface, not a surprise at all. Greg Biffle getting early work on the 26 as he moves into third place right away, taking Newman in the 12 with him. Everybody's keeping it straight right now as we head through turns 1 and 2 down the backstretch. One thing you'll notice that I was about to mention before we had that wreck in the backstretch is that the top side really isn't much use here. We've seen a lot of that in the Busch race on Saturday, and the bottom dominates at this racetrack. So if you can get on the bottom, it's really good for you. If you're up on the top, you can expect to lose 4, 5, or more positions as you fall backwards down the order.
And I'm sure Mayfield can tell you that real quick.
Ooh, contact there. That was the 31 and 40 getting into each other off of turn number 2 that time. Everybody still sorted out in the back. Couple of cars damaged, of course. 523, 2, and 4 at the back of the field, trying to meet minimum speed. 55 of Sprague still leading this race.
Doesn't look like they'll have much trouble maintaining it. A little off the pack, but not,
Trying to remain to a point where you're not hazardously slow. Coming up to 10 laps completed here with the 55 still in first. 42, 16, 12, and 40 your top 5. As they round turn 4 this time. Everybody just trying to get to handles on this racetrack here. Good run for Jeff Green in the 96, who's near the top 10 at the moment. Trying to work on the 81 of Mike Bliss for that 10th position, and does get around him. So
another thing that's made this race extra difficult is that teams didn't bring a lot of cars, and we didn't have a lot of practice because of the long travel distance. So you're having teams making setups and trying to make their car work on the fly.
I believe we
Expect
had
to
an
see a
issue
lot
here.
of company go.
Damage for Kevin Harvick, who appears to have been involved in an accident, so might be expecting a caution here. Yes. Into the outside wall in turn number 1. And well off the pace in front of traffic, so this is going to result in another caution. And the 5 car also came in. Might have maybe gotten a piece of this. No. Nope, just came in for an extra pit stop, but this is going to be another caution flag here. With the 20 and 99 in the wall.
An interesting strategy move from the 5. Maybe he knew delayed yellow was probably coming there.
Yeah, 20 and 99 in defense after Jeff Burton brushed the wall on corner entry. So the caution comes back out. Race leader Jack Sprague takes the field to the yellow flag here. And we are under caution for the second time here in Calder Park. Expecting to see pit stops here. Could be. Lucky Dog will belong to that 5 car. And the whole field into the pit lane here on lap number 13, coming to lap 14.
Yeah, don't expect many people playing games here. 4 and fuel is the play.
Definitely expected as everybody brings it in here. Kevin Harvick will be the first retiree from this race. And Jack Sprague, your race leader, in for 4 and fuel on that 55 car.
Looks like the 96 took 2.
And tell you what, how about this 96 taking 2 tires, and Jeff Green will have the race lead in that newly formed 96 car. He stays onto the front of the racetrack, taking just 2 tires, keeping the left sides on it, and he will be your race leader. An interesting call.
This will be Hall of Fame Racing's first ever lap led. One for the history books right there.
Not for certain. I do believe he led some laps in the 500. But either way, impressive for him, and he'll be up front. Was running top 10 before that strategy call. Ricky Hendrick pulling into the pits again to top off on fuel, but he will be waved around under this caution. 96 is Jeff Green. Your race leader will take you to intermission here from Calder Park. Back from intermission once again as we get ready to go for the second time here from Calder Park. Jeff Green in the 96 car. That'll be your race leader after taking 2 tires. Looking down the rest of the top 5, it'll be Sprague, Stewart, Biffle, and McMurray. Up in line, getting ready to go here on the restart. Lap number 17 when we take the green flag here. Jeff Green playing some interesting strategy. And not a slow race car today either. He's been in the top 10 to start this race, so we'll see what he can do on 2 tires from the lead. Pace car peels off to the left. Coming to the restart box here, and we are back green. A solid start from your race leader, though. Sprague got away very well from second. And Sprague wasting no time to try to get past that 96 for first. Side by side as they head down the back stretch. Here comes Tony Stewart to join the party. 96 way up the hill. He'll manage to keep it out of the wall, but the 42 and 55 slip right on past him. It was short-lived for Jeff Green, who is falling backwards now, and the 2 leaders reassume first and second. Ryan Newman to work on the 96. Jeff Gordon and Bobby Labonte pulling up right behind. Bit of action back here in the midfield. Dale Jr. kind of all over the place there. Got a little loose on corner entry. Backs the rest of the field back up. But everybody keeps it straight for now. 24 and 12 battling. That is for 5th. Bobby Labonte trying to make it 3 wide, but will think better of it. 24 slips past the 12. Meanwhile, battle for the lead. Here is Tony Stewart trying to take the top spot away from Jack Sprague in the 55. Sprague got a little fight in him on the outside. Still there. Pulls back past a little bit on the backstretch as they head towards turn 3 this time. Biffle putting the pressure on the 55. He'll take it 3 wide up the middle. Man, what a move by the 16. Slips past him, now side by side with Stewart for the lead.
Somebody grab a Kodak, because we need a picture of that one.
That was a fantastic overtake. Didn't work out for the lead, but through the middle 3 wide. I haven't seen a move like that in quite a while. Ends up getting stuck on the outside anyway, and Sprague will re-overtake that 16 car, but a flash of brilliance there. This top 5 getting real feisty early in the running. Gordon passed and into 4th. Bobby Labonte in the 18 moves to 5th. Sprague trying to repass the 40 of McMurray for 2nd. And he puts that Gillette Dodge in his mirror. Here's Jeff Gordon, who's still climbing this order, trying to get into the top 3. And even fighting with his teammate, he gets underneath Sprague for 2nd now.
Very aggressive overtake. A lot more aggressive overtaking maneuvers here in the Cup Series as compared to the Busch Series.
You gotta think
People
it's
are a lot more willing.
Go ahead.
People seem to be a lot more willing to put their nose in places.
Absolutely. You gotta think it's a disparity of experience, really. These drivers a lot more experience under their belts as Gordon gets into the back of the 55. Getting a little impatient with his teammate. That pulls Biffle back up into this, as well as pretty much the entire rest of the top 10 in this battle for 2nd place now, all the while Tony Stewart leaving the field in his dust from 1st. Field in the back still clean. Everybody keeping it together back there. 42 still leading. Gordon underneath the 55 again. Sprague brushes the wall off of turn 2 that time. Trying to power around the outside of his teammate. But Jeff Gordon in the 24. 5-time Cup champion.
Look him.
Takes Labonte with him, but the 18's going to duck underneath the 24 for 2nd now. This battle for P2 allowing Stewart to put a massive margin on the rest of this top 5 and 10. Gordon back clear on the outside of the 18. Biffle now trying to force his nose in for 3rd.
Once all these people get cleared, the 42 this entire time has just been saving his tires and running smooth laps. All these people have been just chewing through their tires.
Absolutely. Back down the backstretch is the 24, pulling a big gap to the 16, who just got clear for 3rd. Gordon's got a piece under him today, it seems like. That thing has climbed up the order very quickly and has been perfect in traffic. And he's gotten all the way up to 2nd place. Has a long, long way to go. 42 car of Tony Stewart, your race leader, by about 1.5 seconds over that 24. Biffle into 3rd, Mike Bliss in the 81, a nice run today. He sits in 4th, and Robbie Gordon in P5 in the 31 machine. This whole group of top 10 drivers real tightly knit at the moment. Down the backstretch as we all go single file through this top 10, although Bobby Labonte's going to duck underneath Robbie Gordon for 5th. 31 car trying to get clear on the outside, couldn't do it. Little bit of a better exit by Labonte despite the solid mid-corner by Robbie Gordon, who's trying to block him into turn 1 but couldn't do so. 18 still on the bottom. That outside looking a little better in the Cup race than it did in the Grand National Series on Saturday. Hard-fought battle for 7th between McMurray and Newman. 40 chops the 12's nose off a little bit there to hold on to that 7th position. Jimmy Johnson in the 48 slipping backwards right now. He's down to 14th position, now 15th, as Carl Edwards passing him for P14. Jack Sprague also went quite a long ways backwards. He now sits in P13. So just seeing these guys getting stuck on the outside and losing time.
We've heard from Robbie Gordon, who was doing double duty he was talking a whole lot about how the extra horsepower the Cup cars have make running the outside a whole lot easier. You can get, it's all about getting the power down out there, and the Cup cars just have more of it they can use.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. John Andretti having not too bad of a race himself. He sits in 17th? No, 18th. Gonna get taken 3 wide by Casey Kane, though, who is in a hurry to make up some positions. And he's going to do a 2-for-1 special pass at 21 and 48. That is going to be for the 17th spot. Meanwhile, up front, things still fairly calm. Jeff Gordon trying to hold off Greg Biffle, who's pulled back up to the back bumper of the 24 for second. Looking to get
Another thing you have to wonder is how much did running that Busch race help Robbie Gordon this week?
Seems to have helped just a little bit, running in the top 5 and having a solid day so far today. But just a couple of fierce competitors in front of him. Familiar faces, Biffle, Gordon, Stewart. All some of the sport's best up in the top 3, but Robbie Gordon obviously a member of that echelon. Right behind in 4th. 5th place still belonging to Mike Bliss in the 81. He's trying to fend off Jamie McMurray, who has moved into the 6th position. As of right now, as Bobby Labonte started to slip backwards a little bit, he's down to 9th. As Brian Vickers in the 44 moves into the 8th position, having a solid season up to this point in that CarQuest 44 Chevrolet right now.
Not a whole lot of expectations for that team, and they've been really exceeding them this year. Already has a trophy in there. They've showed a whole lot of fight this season.
Absolutely been a solid year for them up to this point. Biffle dropping off the 24 a little bit. It's still just over a second between Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart. 1.2 was the gap between the top 2 last time at the line. Tony Stewart well in control of this race at the moment as we continue to wind laps away. It'll be lap 37 at the stripe for this field. And the top 10 mostly calmed down here. 10th place belonging to Kyle Busch, who just overtook the 14 of Terry Labonte that last lap. Kurt Busch trying to slip upwards and gain some positions that he had lost. Moves into 13th ahead of Mayfield in the 26, who's falling into the clutches of Carl Edwards as well. Sprague working on the 14 for 11th. Pulls Kurt Busch up into this mix, who's now going to try to fight him for that spot.
To those at home, if you want to know just how much tires matter here, look no further than Jeff Green in the 96.
Definitely worth noting where he is, and he is all the way down, getting passed by the damaged 5 car. That is for 34th. As he is a long way back there and running out of speed quickly. And falls all the way back to 36th as Chase Montgomery in the 68 gets past him. And might even fall further towards the clutches. He's fallen all the way back to this group of drivers, who are mostly damaged race cars. The 0 was both damaged and on 2 tires, as was the 23. And the 6 of John Wood, an undamaged car, but also another one of these drivers on 2. And you can see it really did not pay off since this race stayed green. You can imagine that those guys were probably expecting cautions to breed cautions in this race, but getting our first long green run of the night so far. And they have fallen a long way down the pecking order. 40 laps completed at the stripe for Tony Stewart in the 42, who is still comfortably leading this race. And the top 5 remaining unchanging over the last 10-15 laps or so as we approach what could be our first green flag pit stop window soon.
And while the pit boxes themselves may not be difficult, the pit entrance, it's still a pretty big unknown. All the rounds of pit stops we've had in both Cup and Busch have been under yellow.
That they have, so of course it is difficult to get into the pit lane as they enter turn 4 and get down there. And of course, we saw a lot of teams in practice practicing that pit entry and pit exit quite a lot. A couple of drivers doing it 2 or 3 or even more times than that in practice just to get it down into the pits. But you're never really running in practice all the way to the very end of a fuel run. You do it at least a couple times, so it's going to be interesting to see these guys try to get down the pit road on worn stuff. these lap time fall-offs, of course, are very major. We're seeing almost 2 seconds of tire fall-off. As we mentioned pre-race, tires matter here. They come apart real quick, and you lose a lot of speed on a surface as old as this, so it's just going to be a matter of trying to make sure you don't overstep your boundaries trying to get into that pit lane.
Now, we've heard rumors that they might send SMI might send crews and money to help resurface this track.
Could be, and we'll see how that ends up circling out. And definitely an interesting prospect, given again how old this racing surface is, and they didn't repave it after coming back to this racetrack. It hasn't been used in quite a while. But
I believe the last time this racing surface has been used is 1989.
yes,
25 years.
Looking at one of the oldest, in fact, the oldest racing surface in NASCAR, and of course, given that it hadn't been used a whole lot for much more than just regional racing. So, of course, first time that we've seen a series as big as NASCAR racing on this racetrack in quite a while, and obviously the rest of the facilities were upgraded, safer barriers, and all the infields sort of buildings and such were upgraded for the sake, but the racing surface was left untouched, and the drivers seem to like it, but it's definitely a unique challenge at this racetrack to get around it, given how old that surface is, and you're seeing it with the tires starting to exceed 2 seconds of tire fall off on this run. That average lap time speed just continues to plummet further and further. We're seeing these guys drop into the 120s in miles per hour in mid-corner. Jeff Gordon, the 24, running a couple tenths a lap faster than that leader in the 42 of Tony Stewart, trying his best to make up that margin, seeming a little better on the older stuff, but he's got a long way to go, and just doing his best to try and close that gap. It's still around a second and 2 tenths between the 42 and 24, who have been about equal pretty much this entire race, but a couple more tenths gained by the 24. Trying to run him down for the lead. Here's Robbie Gordon getting a little aggressive with Greg Biffle for third, putting just a little bit of a nudge to him, and they go side by side down the backstretch for P3.
Now, in a race with a strong emphasis on pit strategy, you cannot count out the 31.
Without a shadow of a doubt, has the best crew chief in the game. And they've won so many races with at least a little bit of help at strategy. You can imagine that he'll be licking his chops in a race like this, but has two formidable opponents in front, and we are seeing pit stops now belonging to the drivers who were on 2 tires. The 6 car came in that last time. The 5 of Ricky Hendrick also comes in, as does the 96. So a couple of early pitters here, and despite the fact that they lost so much time on the 2 tires, they might gain a little bit of it back here on the undercut.
I mean, really, you're gaining 3 seconds a lap. 10 laps, you make up an entire... It takes 10 laps of a split, and suddenly, these guys have a lap on the field.
And Tony Stewart, the 42 car, came in that last time, so your race leader into the pit box. Jeff Gordon in the 24, still on the racetrack right now, going for the longer option instead, trying to overcut as opposed to the strategy of the 42 coming in earlier. Which could work, but it's hard to say at this racetrack which will work. It's a little difficult to pass, so both strategies present their own opportunities because you're going to fall backwards if you stay out a little bit. But when you're merging from the pit lane, you've also got a lot of slower traffic to deal with. But you're so much faster that you imagine it makes it a lot easier to make up those positions when you merge in with the better stuff, being 2 to 3 seconds a lap faster than these guys. But nonetheless, 24 Jeff Gordon pulls into the pit lane from the lead, and staying out to take first for the moment is Brian Vickers in the 44 ahead of the 0148. And there goes Jeff Green on the fresh stuff, absolutely running straight past that 26 car. And he'll go to the outside here with the top 3 all with their hands out the window coming into the pits this time. And everybody in this top group getting sorted out. Tony Stewart a long way in front of the 24 of Jeff Gordon. We would expect to see, as he does get past the 24 in turn 3 there. Gordon leaving his pit box here. And a couple of lap cars in between him and the race leader. as Stewart dealing with the 2 of Regan Smith at the moment. So, pit stops getting sorted out here. And Tony Stewart comfortably in the lead of this race, as he should have his lead back this time by. And it is going to be a wide margin to second place, which should be belonging to that 24 of Jeff Gordon. And it does. And that lead now 4.5 seconds with just those 2 laps that he stayed
Yeah, I mean,
longer.
that's the difference right there.
So that wide margin grows for the race leader, and your top 5 goes it is going to be 42, 24, 31, 16, 18. Terry Labonte having himself a great race today in the 14, and he runs in the 6th position in that Kellogg's Pontiac, just behind brother Bobby in the 18 and 5th place. 7th belonging to Mike Bliss. Kyle Busch in the 43's had a quiet, good day around the back end of the top 10. He runs in 8th. Ryan Newman also been a part of this front group for a while. He's in the 9th position, and Brian Vickers ahead a bit of a train right now, but he sits in the 10th spot in the 44 car.
Important to note about the 14 team, the 33 pit crew was actually the one servicing that car this week after Ricky Rudd had DNQ'd. So they just put the faster pit crew on the one that's in the race.
Yeah, smart team management from those guys, and the 14 definitely paying off, running in 6th, as he was around the top 15 for a majority of that run, made up some positions on that one. Plenty of lap traffic for these leaders to deal with as Greg Biffle's coming up. Ooh, 96 car has a tire down. We got issues for Jeff Green, who makes it back to the pits, and the 8 car got around him very quickly. So no caution as Green, a tough break for him, and he was having a solid day here and there, but he's going to have to come in to get that tire replaced. Just tough to see for the 96 car as he comes in, was having a good run. Even though he fell backwards with the tire strategy, just you hate to see it.
I mean, there's only so much you can really do.
Ooh, Stewart getting really impatient with the 23. Got it in the back of him. Wimmer holds on to it, as Stewart really not happy with the 23 getting in his way, and now Wimmer going to block him even more after that contact. Tony looking to jump under him on the front stretch here, and does so. Not wasting much more time, but not the kind of game you want to be playing. Jeff Gordon made up 2 seconds over the last 5 to 10 laps at 24 on the slightly fresher tires, and doing a better job of traffic management right now, given that Stewart was getting into it with the 23 there. So Jeff doing his best to try to close back up on the leader. 40 laps to go here.
That was actually something we've heard a lot from Hendrick. Their cars aren't really designed to handle that well in clean air. They've designed the car around being able to handle traffic.
Yeah, and Stephanie showed today, given how much Jeff Gordon has cut through the field in that 24 car, continuing to slice and dice even through the lap traffic. He's got the 6 of John Wood right in front of him, who is undamaged but on slightly older tires, given how early the 6th hit. So everybody keeping it together right now. 2.3 the gap between the 2 race leaders, with just under 40 laps to go. 39 coming to 38. Gordon getting underneath the 6 of John Wood, the 37th place car, to have a 1 less lap car between him and the race leader. Seeing issues for the 30 car now, as Casey Atwood has a tire go down and pulls into the pits, and nobody around him. So we stay green again. Another tire failure on this second run. And that one a lot more explosive for Atwood. His tire coming apart in a hurry.
I mean, if you're going to have a tire failure, you want it to happen coming off of 3. That way you can duck it into the pits really quickly.
Yeah, and both times we saw in 3 and 4, Jeff Green managed to find some clean track, even though it was the 8 right behind him. Martin Truex Jr. got into the back of him when he checked up for that tire, but didn't really lose a whole lot of time, so the racetrack stayed green, and Casey Atwood, absolutely nobody around him, and didn't drop enough debris nor stop on the racetrack, so he emerges just in front of the 24 and drops behind him on the backstretch.
Now, you also have to take into account the fact that now the 96 and the 30 have fresher tires than the whole field.
Not sure exactly on the fuel run in the Cup Series here, so it'll be interesting to see if specifically the 30 can make it to the end, since he hit a lot later than the 96 did. Gordon getting a little impatient with the 22, but didn't get a whole lot into the back bumper there, just little tiny nudge. These Bill Davis cars kind of getting in the way of the leaders here, and they are both right with each other, the two teammates, Marlin and Wimmer. 33rd and 34th, having a tough day in the office, both of these guys are. Wimmer obviously involved in that lap 2 caution. And Gordon really not wanting to waste a lot of time here, given how quickly he's been catching, as the 23 got the wall right next to Jeff Gordon there. Managed to keep it off of him, but that was very close. And this gap, Tony Stewart is losing a lot of time to Jeff Gordon, who just on 2 laps, fresher tires, is gaining so much on the race leader in the 42.
And that really begs the question, maybe these tire failures are a blessing in disguise for the 30. Maybe this tire failure is a blessing in disguise for the 30 team.
Having another radio message. TJ Bell has a vibration. Should be good enough to stay on the racetrack, but... Ooh, he gets the wall there, though, so struggling with that thing, but trying to keep it on the road. Managed to avoid Casey Kane, who slips past him for position. Rough day for the 38, who is outside the top 20 right now.
We heard a lot of things in the Busch race about how the car handling, how the suspension. We talk about how hard a rough surface can be on the tires, but it can be just as hard, if not immensely harder, on the suspension of these cars. They run really stiff suspensions, and it could cause suspension wear to an immense degree. It could also cause brake wear.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, these things are getting thrown around a lot here today. Jeff Gordon in the 24, slowly closing up. That's still Sterling Marlin in front of him, trying to close on the leader, Tony Stewart. Casey Atwood got around the 24 a couple laps ago on the fresher tires. Now sits behind race leader Tony Stewart, letting him know he's there. Taking his time with the 42 at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think there's much looks worse than dumping the leader as a lap car.
Kind of struggling to keep it off of him there. He got into the back of him again there out of turn 4. 30, now 29 laps to go for race leader Tony Stewart, who is catching another group of lap cars, 4 and 89 up in front of him. And probably wishing that the 30 would just pass him at this point.
And the last thing you want is the 42, is the 30 to get under you right now.
Yeah, pulls up on the back bumper of the 89 of Morgan Shepherd, who made the surprise trip across the pond to do these races. And has kept the car clean, running in 32nd right now, a respectable run for him. Atwood trying to go up the middle. Gets underneath the 89. And right on the quarter panel of the 42. This is a precarious situation. All the while, second place Jeff Gordon still catching up. Still has the 22 between him and the 42.
And that's a friendly lap car that the 42 is pumping up on.
Gordon getting underneath the 22 finally after spending a long time behind Marlin. 4 of Hank Parker Jr., Alliance teammate to the 24 right in front here. And Atwood will finally slip past the 42 car and run away and leave the leaders be. Gordon still at work with the 22 and will finally get past him. Now just the 4 between him and the race leader, Tony Stewart, who he has spent the better part of 20 laps chasing down. 25 laps to go here from Calder Park. And it is coming down to Tony Stewart versus Jeff Gordon. 2005 and 2003 Cup champions up front. Here in this one, couple of multi-time champions going for the win here in unfamiliar territory.
An unfamiliar track, but a familiar sight.
Parker Jr. still residing between the two leaders. Gordon trying to find a way around that 4 car and open up the door to catch the 42. Got time to work with, but running out of it slowly but surely. 23 laps to go. And we've seen how much faster that 24 car is. He made up that gap despite all the extra lap traffic from down 4.5 seconds on the leader, Tony Stewart. He now ducks underneath that 4 car into turn 3. And the 24 now has nobody between him and the 42 that he's spent the entirety of this run chasing.
Looked like the tire run was about 40 laps, and they all hit around lap 50, so might have a money stop this race.
We will see. And tell you what, we're going to see it right now as Tony Stewart, the race leader, ducks into the pit lane just outside of 20 laps to go.
The question is, do you take 2, do you take 4?
At this stage in the race, I think you're better off taking 4. There's still 20 laps left. You're going to be so much faster. I think you kind of have to. If you get long enough, you might be able to take 2, but I just wouldn't do it. Jeff Gordon making the move in response to the 42 as he pulls into the pit lane just a lap later. He's going to lose a little bit of time to the undercut, but less so than last time. Pitting just a little bit earlier here. Has to slow up for the 23 as he leaves the pits. And Stewart is away.
And I think a bunch of eyes turn to the number 30 car's pit box. Does he have the time? Does he have the fuel to finish this thing?
We'll see where he ends up at the moment. Jeff Gordon, 4 tires and fuel, and the 24 is away cleanly. Pretty good stop despite a little bit of a hold up for the 23 as he leaves the pit lane. Stewart coming up on him. 42 is behind the 24. Had traffic in the form of the 77 and 26, and Gordon leaves the pit lane ahead of the 42 car. And got checked up as both the 26 and 77 came in, and now the 31 car gets past him. Disaster for Tony Stewart late in this race.
Hello. Almost got clipped by the 89.
So now, late in the running of this thing, Jeff Gordon should be the net race leader. He's getting held up a lot by Dale Jr., who hasn't pit yet. That's opening the door for Robbie Gordon to catch up. Parker Jr. almost blocked him. Here comes the 31. Jr. pitting in front of all of them, though, and Gordon slips past on the outside. Nowhere for the 31 to go in the 24, who got held up by the 88, instead catches a break thanks to the 8 car. Stewart into the back of Robbie Gordon for second place. Chaos for all 3 of the leaders, and Jeff Gordon comes out on top of it. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson pitted that last time, so Gordon will be the leader this next time by.
And Jimmy Johnson has the freshest tires of the field. A caution could change everything.
Gets it back out onto the racetrack, well outside the top 15. Everybody doing their best to sort things out. Ricky Hendrick, a good recovery drive worth noting. He's well inside the top 15 now, despite being wrecked on lap 2. He's had a good run up to this point. Casey Atwood is still on the racetrack. He's starting to fall outside the top 10. Still 15 laps left, and probably will have to make another pit stop. Meanwhile, Gordon on the back of a lot of lap cars, one of them being the 96 of Green, who is going to come in here. And that pulls the 31 and 42 back into the battle, and here's Robbie Gordon going for the race lead. Gordon trying to go around the outside, almost got up into the wall. 31 car has the lead off of turn 2. Robbie Gordon to the point late in this race. Approaching 10 laps to go in the next couple laps. With so many lap cars around these race leaders.
It doesn't even matter. So many lap cars around them and none of them between them.
4 car went for an overtake on Jeff Gordon and got past the 24. Not sure how much Rick Hendrick will like that one as Gordon drops off of the top 2. It's now just Robbie Gordon and Tony Stewart coming to 10 laps to go.
You know, we have heard rumors of animosity between between Hank Parker Jr. and the rest of the Hendrick camp.
Tell you about animosity, how about this top 2, Gordon and Stewart battling for this race win. Tire marks there off of turn number 2. I don't think there was a crash, but I'd like to look back at it. Yes, there was. That was the 78 and 14 getting together. Terry Labonte and Hornaday. Labonte getting impatient with the lap car and got into the back of him.
An outstanding save.
Man, what a save. But the battle focused on still up front. It is 9 coming to 8 laps to go. Stewart putting the pressure on the 31 car. Looks low off of turn 4. Couldn't get underneath him.
It's all about positioning yourself if you're Robbie Gordon and Tony Stewart. Overtaking straight up is incredibly difficult, but if you can get a pick, if you can make it to where they catch a lap car at just the right time, you can get a lot of time really quickly.
3 Fords up in front of the 31. That's 21, 68, 57. All trying to stay on the lead lap late in this race in case of a caution. Robbie Gordon trying to get around them while Stewart lurks behind. Gordon trying to catch back up from the 3rd position after losing a lot of time thanks to the 4. He's not out of this thing yet. There's 6 laps left here in Calder Park. It's been a stellar race up to this point. Looking to conclude it late. 5 to go at the line, with Stewart bearing down on the 31, trying his best to try to reclose that gap. He fell off of him the last couple laps, but Gordon losing hold of these lap cars in front of him, and Stewart closing in from 2nd, all the while Jeff Gordon not too far back in 3rd. Little bit of a run by the 42 out of turn 2 that time.
Thing is, if you get to the back bumper, we know that getting a run into 3 is not enough. You have to get a run earlier.
4 to go. Does Stewart have anything for the 31? Closing in off of turn 2 again. He's got a chance at it late in this race. Jeff Gordon's still in the catbird seat if anything happens. 4th place, belonging way back there to the 16 of Greg Biffle, who is a long way out of this battle for the lead. 3 of the sport's best going for the win in the first race at Calder Park in quite a long time. Robbie Gordon is catching up to the lap traffic. He gets underneath the 21. That's the 30 of Casey Atwood on old tires right in front of these guys.
Not pit.
They're all going to get around him. 2 laps to go at the line for Robbie Gordon, who's pulled away from Tony Stewart just that little bit. But Stewart trying to close back in. Got out of the throttle middle of the corner a little bit. It'll be the white flag this time.
And Robbie Gordon is going for a cushion.
Last lap here at Calder Park as Robbie Gordon's pulling away.
You have a few people coming in for fuel, it looks like.
5 car ran out of fuel. Doesn't matter to these leaders. Down the backstretch for the final time as Robbie Gordon leaving these 2 in the dust. Strategy, it's his #1 game. Out of turn 4, Robbie Gordon wins his first of 2006, and he takes the checkered flag in the first of the 2 Aussie races here at Calder Park. Outdoes the 42 and 24, 2 of the sport's most recent champions, and he wins it. His first of this season, and at a race that fits him. Taking the checkered flag here in a race that came down, not fully to strategy, of course, but one that played a factor. And if there's anybody you want to put money on when strategy's on the line, it's this 31 car, and he takes the win here over the 2 dominant cars of the race. Mr. Where Did He Come From, your winner. But that'll do it for coverage here from Calder Park as Robbie Gordon in the 31 car comes home your winner after a thriller of a finish here in Melbourne. A fantastic race here today. At the very end of it, strategy and close racing at the very end. And we will see you next time. Next week, it's going to be a bit of a chaos bowl. We head to the road course part of this leg of the season, Oran Park, for the Cashies 400, race number 7, coming to you next week. I'm Caden Reif on behalf of Braden joining me in the booth today. We'll see you then, and as always, have yourself a good one.
It's a long way to the top.